My third question would be, how did you get off of the field? Was it hard for you kind of transition, or was it just really easy for you to do that?
No, it was hard because I was out there for a long time. I was basically forced physically. I was so physically distressed. I was like, I literally cannot keep doing this. I said it like 15 times because I was so mad. And the problem is like, I couldn't rely on anybody else to like take over because I was hiring the wrong people. All right, so today we have William with Flores Lawn Service down in Houston, Texas, a native down here in the same state as I. So William, thanks for jumping on. Maybe, I guess, fill the audience in with maybe a 20-second snippet of like where you're at in business. So that way we can get a good handle on that. And then we can jump straight into the Q&As and see how I can help.
Yeah, sure. So first and foremost, thanks for everything you do, man. It's these videos help myself and a lot of people out, I'm sure. I started doing lawns on the side back in 2020, right at the start of COVID, just losing my job and everything. And then 4 years down the road, taking it full time, doing about 120K in revenue. I'm a solo operator, it's just myself. I have one helper, just one day out of the week for half of the year only. But that's about it, man. Just want to take it to the next level, kind of be where you're at now and go from there.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Kudos to you growing this thing through COVID because that was an interesting time for sure. So William, what is the goal for you? So like, obviously you're saying you want to take it to the next level. What is like your 5-year, 10-year goal? Where do you want to take this thing?
Yeah, so I was always happy with kind of just being solo. I like the simplicity of things. The revenue is a lot better when it's just you out there. Overhead is a lot less. And so I was kind of happy doing that the first 3 to 4 years. But, we just purchased our home a couple months ago. And so now it's to the point where I have to generate more money. I also want to step away from the field. It's, it takes a toll on your body. I don't want to be 50, mowing lawn. So I do want to hire a couple helpers. So my goal is within the next 2 years, probably get it to $500,000 in revenue and have 3 to 4 full-time employees just kind of running things and me just doing administration tasks.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's totally doable. I think with 2 years. Yeah, I think that's totally doable. So that's really cool. So what do you think is like your biggest bottleneck? So it sounds like you maybe like that 120 or 130, what you're doing now, like you were good with that, but now you want to take it to the next level. Did you attempt to do it last year, or is this the year that you're like, hey, I really, really want to grow this thing?
This is a year where I kind of really want to grow everything. Like I said, I was happy with just doing it myself on solo, making 120, after expenses and everything, it was good. Profit was pretty good. But this year, like I said, with the house and everything, I'm pretty confident I could at least double it. I haven't had my foot on the pedal the way I should be doing it. And so this is the year where I want everything to explode for me.
Yeah. Okay. So William, what do you think is like, where do you need the most help? Where do you see maybe a lack of like experience, or like where do you think I can help you out the most?
I think it's on the admin side, paperwork, legal things. I'm pretty good at cutting 15 lawns a day by myself, but administration wise, and probably the biggest problem I'm having right now is how to stop mowing and get enough customers to where I can have 2 people working for me.
Yeah. Okay. So really, are you at 1 truck right now and looking to go to 2?
Yes.
Okay. That is an interesting transition because once you start to hire people, it opens a whole can of worms.
Right, yeah.
Of learning curves, I should say. But as far as like the admin side, what do you think needs to be dialed in? Like, are there specific certain areas? Is it just answering the phones, answering the emails? Like, what do you think specifically on the admin side do you need the most help with?
How to stay organized, what software you use for employees, what software you use to hire people. Are you an LLC? Are you an S corp? Stuff like that.
Okay. So how is your business structured?
So it's through an LLC.
Okay, that's good.
And all I have is like a business credit card where I use for all my business expenses. But apart from that, I'm not really organized. I don't really keep track of my receipts for things like that. And, I don't use a software. All I do is pen and paper for my customers. I use my brain as a file cabinet, and I kind of want to systemize everything to where I can potentially grow this thing.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say that's good. You're an LLC and you do have a separate bank account to my understanding with the credit card. Okay, awesome. So definitely keep that separate. If it's a business purchase, do that. If it's a personal purchase, then do that as well. Like keep it personal. That will keep you safe from like, litigation and things like that. Obviously that's not legal advice, but that's to be safe. As far as like a CRM, I think that is definitely mandatory to go from like 120 or 130 to like 500. Like you need a CRM. There's a few of them out there that I've used personally. Yardbook I started with, and then went to Service Autopilot, which is, there's a lot of learning curve with that. It's kind of made for bigger businesses, but the one that we're using right now is called Copilot CRM.
Okay.
Mike Andes owns it, and it's a great software. For your first 50 customers right now, you can get for free.
Okay.
So as long as you have under 50 customers, you can literally today sign up for the software and literally plug them in. And then you can start to be more organized, keeping tracks of their names, addresses. You can also start to, for billing purposes, require cards on file.
Okay.
Probably not doing that right now with a pen and paper. That will get you more organized. So moving forward, if you really want to turn this thing into something where you have multiple employees and you're not running around like a chicken with your head cut off, that is the new standard in the lawn care industry, is to just have, like, we require cards on file. The Venmo, the cash, the checks, all of that is very, very time consuming, and your time needs to be focused on other things than collecting everybody's money that they owe you. And so that software will help allow that. It'll also help keep you organized for your schedules. So you can start to schedule, weekly or bi-weekly mowing services and things like that, and just keep things in more of a routinely fashion. Now, do you have any questions on the like CRM side of things?
Would you be okay with sharing what it costs after the first 50 clients?
We can look at it together. So let me share my screen here. I'll do the entire screen, and then we can just jump right into it here. So let's go to copilotcrm.com. Okay, so let's go to pricing. All right, so for the solo, you get literally free up to 50 customers. You can track time on each job, which is very important. When you start to hire people, you need to know how much budgeted time each job is. Customers can pay online. Again, this is a huge one. You put a card on file. They get a customer portal. You can track expenses in here, which we don't track expenses in here. We use QuickBooks. Yeah, you can do a lot of stuff. You can track your inventory, equipment maintenance records. You get mobile app access. And yeah, there's a lot you can do with the solo. Now, once you start to grow it, here's why I like Copilot. Because if you're just getting started under 50 customers, you can literally start for free. Then if you start to grow this where you're like doing 200 or 300,000 and you like need to upgrade, you don't have to switch all of your clients over to a different software. You can literally just stay on Copilot and upgrade to the starter. And then down the road, when you're at like, 400,000 or 500,000, you might need the pro, where it gets you a little bit more stuff, where you can kind of like maybe do texting features, which that looks like it's more on the enterprise value. But what's nice is you can grow into it. We pay, it looks like somewhere around this for Copilot, but I will tell you, at our size of business, it makes us like 20 times this back, with just the organization and just everything.
What is the I'm sorry, what's the fee for the credit card?
I believe it is, I should know this. Let me pull it up real quick.
Oh yeah, no.
Because I have it in my notes.
And I've got some questions here that, if you want, we could just kind of go down the list with everything.
That is a valid question. You definitely want to look into the percentages. However, if you're wanting to grow this to 500,000, I wouldn't get too hung up on the fees. Fees are not going to make you broke.
Right.
What's more important is getting the next sale. And if your time is spent doing drive-by estimates or like doing meeting with customers and like selling them,
right,
instead of like calling them and be like, hey, we mowed your lawn last week and I didn't see the check under the mat. Like, your time is, I'm willing to pay the 30 cents per transaction. Okay, here. Okay, so it's 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction.
Okay.
Whether you bill monthly or like daily or weekly, 30 cents per transaction, and then 2.9% of the total. But that 2.9% is not going to make you broke. And I am willing to pay that 10 times over to get my time back to go sell more jobs instead of like trying to manage and collect payment from people.
Do you charge that on the customer's end, or do you just take that? Okay.
Yeah, and actually, it's a good question. So Copilot has a feature where you can pass those fees along to the customer, and then in your estimates, you just tell them. We used to eat the cost, and then my wife's dad told me he used to own an amusement park. He was like, "Yeah, I just handed it off to the customers," and I was like, "So I look back, dude, it saved us like 15 grand a year."
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And like, I'm like, yeah, we need to start to hand these off to the customer. And so, yeah, there's just a little button, a toggle button on there that you can hand those fees off to them.
You don't get much pushback from small fees from it. Okay.
No, and then as long like on your estimates, as long as like that. What the other thing that's nice about Copilot is they have Copilot University. It's completely free. You can literally watch videos on how to build an estimate template, and then at the bottom where it says terms and conditions, that's where you'll put in there for each transaction is 2.9% plus a 30 cents processing fee.
Okay.
It just is what it is. It's called the convenience fee to have a card on file. And for us, we require a card.
Yeah, and I guess most people appreciate it not having to run to the bank or just having to get on their phone, because I take Zelle mostly, and having to manually do that every single week. So I guess they wouldn't mind an extra $2 or $3.
Yeah. Now, and William, you might get kickback on that by maybe 1 or 2 or 3 customers. I will tell you, those are the customers you probably do not want.
Gotcha.
Being honest. Yeah.
Okay.
Go find somebody that's not going to be upset about a 2.9% fee.
I was looking at last night. I was looking at your website. You have an amazing website. Was that Andy who also created that for you guys?
So no, I built that Wix website myself, and it took me probably about a couple weeks, a couple hours a day each day. I just went on YouTube. It didn't look like that the first 2 weeks. What I did recently was I paid a graphic designer called Fiverr. Are you familiar with that?
That's where I get all my stuff designed. Yep.
Dude, amazing. Like you can literally get it for a quarter fraction of the price, pay people overseas. I think we paid $350 for them to revamp the entire website on a graphical design standpoint. And like you said, it looks amazing. And then that would have cost 4x that in the States.
Right. Are you okay with sharing their info maybe? So I can reach out to them as well.
Yeah. If you want after this call, because I don't want him to get like bogged down, I'll give you his information. In fact, because I had another person that asked me today for his stuff. I'll give you his information for sure. Okay.
Yeah, it's an amazing website. So another thing would be, okay, so if you had 2 forms, if you could only advertise 2 ways, regardless of the budget, I'm pretty sure the first one for you would be truck wrapping. What would be that second form of advertisement for you?
Door hangers.
Door hangers. Okay. And what would you say would be the callback rate for those?
When you mean like conversion, like how many people?
Like out of 100, you get like a call or 2 calls.
I think when I ran the numbers last time, I think we would get like 7 to 9%. I think it was like a 7% leads would call me, and then from there about 3% would convert. 2.5, maybe 3.
Oh, that's exceptional. That's above average. That's really good.
Yeah. So if you are doing door hangers, what I would recommend is build an offer so good that the customer feels silly saying no to. So as long as you build it right and the time, as long as the offer is right and the timing is right, you will get 2 to 3% conversion on those.
Okay. Yeah, I've got some made. Might have to take a look at them again and see if we can make those better. So my third question would be, how did you get off of the field? Was it hard for you kind of transition from, hey, I can't be on the, just being in the office, or was it just really easy for you to do that?
No, it was hard because I was out there for a long time. And I think, so I basically have arthritis in my feet.
Okay.
And I was a paratrooper, so I used to jump out of airplanes in the Army. So my feet and knees are not the greatest because when you hit the ground, you like buckle and then roll over.
Right.
When you're jumping out, I was basically forced physically. I remember standing in my kitchen with my wife, and we came to this conclusion. And I was so physically like distressed. I was like, I literally cannot keep doing this. I cannot keep doing this. And I like vividly in my brain remember that I said it like 15 times because I was so mad. It's like I physically I can't keep doing this. And the problem is we were hiring kind of like not good employees.
Right.
We were hiring C and D players that like I thought were A and B, but I just hadn't been around in a while. And the problem is like I couldn't rely on anybody else to like take over because of me. because I was hiring the wrong people. And so I was in this weird cycle where like the guys wouldn't show up, or they would call off of work, or they come in late, or they wouldn't do good work. And then like I'd always have to pick up the slack. And then eventually you just hit a breaking point. And I hit a breaking point. I was like, I can't keep doing this.
Right.
And I think at that point, like sheer brute force, I mean, being broken down like mindset wise in the military, I just like, we plowed through it. Like we just kept selling. We just went through the pain. It was very, very, very painful. But I would say that was the turning point when like I drew the line in the sand and I was like, okay, that's it. I'm not going to be the one out in the field pushing the mower on every job. It just, I have to change that mindset,
Did you lose any customers from just a bad job? Okay.
Yeah, 100%. In fact, I'll tell you so much so. I think we had like a 60% churn rate.
Wow. Okay.
Or maybe more. It might have been 70. So think of this. If you had 100 customers, 70 of them in 12 months are gone.
It's gone. Wow.
That and like, so like you could sell more jobs in the spring, but you're literally just going to lose them all over the course, because I was hiring bad team members that I thought were good, but I just didn't know. And so I was in this weird spinning circle, and the turnover rate for our employees was 30 days. And it's not because I mean, maybe I was a poor leader at that time. In fact, I'll just admit it. I was a poor leader at that time. But now I'm, as a better leader, can cultivate talent and, identify it better.
Okay. Gotcha.
And hold people to a standard. That's the other thing. I failed to hold people to a standard. And so you gotta kind of do that if you need to fire somebody. But the problem was I couldn't fire anybody because I needed them.
You needed them, yeah.
I didn't have any backup, so.
Yeah. Okay. And then are you an LLC, or have you established your business another way?
So yeah, we started off as a DBA, sole proprietor. And then we jumped. We did not do the LLC because we were growing so quickly that we went to an S corporation. And then we just recently restructured our entire business. But for you, with the goals that you have given me, and again, this is not like legal advice,
right.
I think the LLC is probably good for you.
Okay.
That is probably good. Now, if you want to start to go above 500,000 and you're going to like 700,000 or 800,000, and then you really start to make a lot of profit, it might make sense to transition that to like an S corporation. But if you're just trying to kind of go to 500 and then like kind of turn on profit mode, LLC will fit you just fine. It will separate your expenses so you don't have any like legal stuff, as long as you do it right.
Right. Yeah, because I heard somebody say if you're doing over like 50 grand to just switch it over to S corp. I'm not sure. Yeah, how true that was.
Yeah, I'd say 500 is right there on that brink where you could probably, like, the LLC probably makes sense. I would talk with your CPA,
right.
Or bookkeeper, like when you get there, and then they'll look at the profit and loss statement at the end of the year, and they'll tell you if you should go up to an S corp or probably just roll with the LLC.
Okay. And then I know from watching your videos, your wife is very involved in the business, and so I want to get to that point too, where my wife can leave her job and kind of help me with admin things and stuff like that. So how was that process for her and yourself? Was she just in there from the get-go? Was there a certain revenue that you had to hit before she was able to kind of just go in full-time with you? How did that look like for you guys?
So we did it prematurely. I think at 125,000, she stepped over.
Okay.
But then literally it unlocked. The next year we went to 365,000.
Okay.
In 1 year. So like her being on board was amazing. But I think she stepped over, I think in like maybe the fall time frame or something like that. And then obviously the seasonality thing came and everything dropped off. So like, yeah, it was a little premature, but it was super beneficial when she stepped over. So if your wife is gonna, what's nice is like, I mean, number one, you just got to make sure all of your expenses are like covered, right?
Mm-hmm.
If she's working and you're working a W-2 job, if you guys both step away from that and rely on this thing,
yeah, it's gonna be tough.
You're putting all your eggs in the basket, right?
Yeah.
So just counterbalance that. Maybe there's a hybrid somewhere in the middle where you can have her maybe cut back on some hours or only work 3 days a week, and then help you at least like 2 days a week on like the office or admin side, to where she does like phone calls or emails. I would say that would be a better transition. And then until you guys get to like 300,000-400,000, it's like, okay, we kind of need you full time, and then we'll push up to 500.
Okay, sweet, gotcha. Okay, then this one kind of leads into the other one. You kind of answered it a bit. What season did you guys have the most growth from the previous season, and what would you say was the biggest factor that contributed to that? Was there a certain system you guys had in place? Was it a extra service that you guys offer? Like, what would you say caused that big of a jump?
So we went from 125 to 365. I would say it was because when Larissa came over and she helped a lot in the admin side. Yeah, that was the biggest thing. And then some key changes, I think, during that time, we had required card on file. So
Oh,
again, it freed up our time to not like go chase money. And
right.
like the billing just did it automatically, which is
Okay.
nice. Copilot lets you do that. Yeah, I would say cards on file, truck vinyls on your vehicle. That was a big thing in the beginning because it really locks you in at that point. It's not like you can kind of bail after that. Like
Right.
once you get vinyl stickers or a wrap on your truck, you're pretty much in it. You
Right.
know what I mean? People be like, "Hey man, what happened to the truck?" And it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing the things that you can do when you kind of just put yourself against the wall. You're forced to kind of just move forward. You can get a lot of things done. So yeah, definitely. So I have a certain route where I still have $35 lawns, and the crazy thing about that is though that route is actually my most profitable route. So we do, I think it's about 25 or 26 houses, and it's right at 1,200 for the day. It takes us from 7 a.m. to about 3:30, and we're done. Now, not all of them are 30 and 35. A lot of them are still 50, 60. Do you have a minimum? Like, are you still doing $30 cuts with your company?
no, we do have a minimum. We do have a minimum, and they're different. So like in our growth mode model, I think we go down to like I think $27 a cut. But we do really small cookie cutters, and sometimes it's just backyard only. What I will tell you is I would not get too hung up. Like $35 cuts is great. The reason why you're so profitable on those routes is because of the route density.
Right.
So we fell into the trap of this whole thing, raise prices, and everybody tells you that, right? It's like
Exactly.
raise prices. So
Hmm.
there was a year, I think when we were doing 365, we were like, we're gonna raise prices. And we raised prices like dude, we were probably at 100 to 110 an hour.
Wow. Okay.
Like it was crazy. And what happened was people stopped signing up, the route density got thin, and the revenue went down. Like, I mean, it went up, like we grew, but we didn't grow like we were growing.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you want to make sure that you're covering your costs and everything. But what I would say is route density is what makes you profitable. Like you could charge $5 less per cut, but if you have 12 people on that street, you're going to be making bank, dude, because you're not going to have to move the truck much.
Right. Yeah.
So, route density is important. There's a balance there of like raising prices and having route density, because if you raise it too much, you kind of may lose the route density a bit and be driving more around.
Yeah. So I think those two things kind of go hand in hand. I think if you raise one, the other one kind of goes down, and vice versa. But yeah, everybody just always says that raise prices, raise prices, raise prices. And I'm like, dude, there's some lawns, we have 30, $35, and we could do 6 in 1 hour. Like, I have no need to raise prices on that. And so I was, you're at a lot bigger company, so I was just wanting to see if you were also in that boat.
Yeah, and so like the other thing too, William, is like figure out the service territory that you have and like stick to it, right? And like less is more, less is better. And then at that point, when you grow, do you know what your mile radius is currently?
So it's pretty far just because when I started the company, I've moved about 3 times since then. So I still have a bunch of customers in that one area, and then I moved to the next one, and I have a bunch there. So I'd say it's about 10 maximum. I want to shrink it down to about 5 and kind of just shred off all those extra customers.
Yeah, I don't think that's too bad, especially like with the market that kind of we're in. Our radius is 7 miles roughly.
Okay.
So, even if you kind of maybe cut down that a little bit,
All right.
that way your trucks are seeing more, your signs are seeing more, and the route density is a little bit better just over time. But I mean, it depends on your goals too. Like obviously, you could grow and get up to 500,000 first, and then as more customers still book, once you hit capacity, then you can start to cut off some of those further territories and really start to fill in the more closer ones for more profit.
Okay. That makes sense. Oh, I had it in the tip of my tongue. I forgot what I was going to ask. Okay, I think we'll just move to the next one. Do you have an exit plan for your company within the next 10 years, or are you looking to get bought out, or are you just looking to make this into a behemoth, kind of like what Andy is doing, or are you just what is your goal?
Yeah, I'm similar to Warren Buffett. Why
Nope.
sell the asset?
You're
I
right.
want to keep the cow and sell the milk for the rest of its life.
Okay,
You
makes
know what
sense.
I mean? Like I'm not looking to make a big buck or a big win. I'm not looking to flip it and make a couple million. Like I would rather keep the asset, let it run without me, build and develop people, which is my personal mission, teaching people how to do that. And then so that way they can get their freedom and time back. So like that vehicle I want to keep. And then, yeah, if we're only making a couple 100,000 a year, like I would rather take that than a big payday one time. Yeah, is
Okay.
my philosophy on that. That might change maybe one day. My goals and things might change, but I've always been similar, like a Warren Buffett. Like why sell the asset? You know?
Right, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are. I had a bunch of questions, and I was kind of just binge watching videos because I didn't want to ask you things that you've already answered 10 times. So yesterday, I kind of scratched a bunch of those off. So that's really all I had for today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just.
So that's good. I'm gonna dive in this a little bit because we're ending a little bit early. So for payroll services, what I would recommend a nice, simple, easy software is QuickBooks.
Okay.
So once you start to hire employees, you're going to need to pay them. I still
Right.
remember the first time I paid somebody, I literally got an envelope of cash with coins in it.
Okay.
And I met him at the gas station. I didn't even have him come to my house. So I was like, here you go.
Wow.
Here's your paycheck for the last 2 weeks, right? So we've evolved since then.
Okay.
What's nice on QuickBooks is you can actually have them set up the account. Like you just send them a link and
Okay.
then they'll fill out their like routing number, checking number, and then like, all you do is go in and put up in how much you're paying them per hour and then how many hours they worked for that pay period. And then they literally get a paycheck like to their bank account. So
Okay.
it's nice and easy that way.
Do you advertise? Because I saw your truck wraps where it says now hiring. Apart from that, do you use like Indeed? Do you post job ads online?
Yeah, so there's quite a handful of different ways. Sometimes I have to get really creative when Indeed's not working.
Okay.
Most of the time, I'd say 85% of the time, I just use Indeed.
Indeed. Okay.
Yeah. We set a $10 a day budget, and we only run the ad for maybe like 2 or 3 weeks until we get like 50 applicants. And then from there, out of 50 applicants, we probably book maybe like 20, 25 interviews. Out of 25 interviews, probably 10 will show up. And then from that 10, you can pretty much hire maybe like the top like 3.
Okay.
So that's what the numbers look like. It's just a numbers game. So don't be discouraged when you set up the interview and the dude doesn't show up, right?
Right.
What's nice is you can also do pre-screening questions over the phone. So, when somebody applies on Indeed, you just it'll send them it'll send you their resume.
Right.
And then just pick the phone up, call them and say, "Hey, my name's William. You applied online. Do you have any experience in the lawn care industry? Where are you working currently?" You can ask them kind of a couple pre-screening questions. And then if you kind of like them over the phone, then you just, "Hey, I'm available on Saturday at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Like, here's the address or whatever." And then do it that way for now until you get kind of rolling and get more systems in place. But yeah, $10 a day
Okay.
should get you that. And then, yeah, just make sure once you get your applicants, you can just turn it off.
Where did you learn all the fertilizing aspects of the business? Because I know you have a course, which I was about to sign up. I'll probably do it right after this video. But did you take a course? Was that just hands-on experience? How did you learn how to fertilize?
I had a really good mentor. He saw me mowing a lawn one day and walked over to me and just started talking. And I told him I was growing my business, and he was like, "Oh, his brother owns Grass Person in Louisville, Texas,
Okay.
and they do like 2 million, 2.5 million or something. So, and they have like 30 employees."
Really?
And he basically helped me out and was like, "Look, I can kind of coach you on like how to build a program, when to put down fertilizers, like how to do pre-emergence, what weed control is, surfactant, all this stuff that I had no idea about and everything." So he kind of like, you really need somebody to kind of walk you through. This is not one of those services that you just kind of like sign up or not sign up or like get your license and then just go out and like trial and error. people before you have to kind of pave that way, because otherwise you start using the wrong chemicals, man, you can really fry a lawn. So, but yeah, through him, he taught me. And then there is obviously a class that you have, not a class, I'm sorry, study material. I didn't go to a class. You can order the study material through the Texas Department of Agriculture.
Okay.
There's 3 books. There's general studies book. It's like 400 pages. It just talks about all the basics, like how to store chemicals, if it should be locked or not, like how far away from a water source you can spray, like all those basic things that you kind of need to know. And then the other 2, one of them is laws. It's a laws and regulation book. It's I think teal colored book. And then the last one is the turf and ornamental. It's a green book. But those are the 3 study materials that you will need for the Texas test. And then from there, once you get the study material, maybe study for like a month and just do one at a time. So you would take the general studies one first. It just goes over all the basics.
Okay.
And once you pass that exam, then you'll take the actual, I think it's the 3A test.
Okay.
Turf and ornamental.
Okay.
And then you'll learn all about weeds and drift management and equipment and that stuff. But yeah, and then obviously I have a course. So once you do get licensed, or if you know for sure like that's a service that you want to do,
Right, definitely.
My course, it goes over all of the basic stuff of like, you know, the equipment. We give out all of our standard operating procedures and kind of like checklists of like how we spray a lawn or how we fertilize a lawn, how to overlap with the spreader, key things on the spreader to know. And yeah, and then we actually give out our turf program, which I think actually will be good for you. Do you know what grass types are down in Houston?
It's mostly St. Augustine is like 99% of what I cut.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so our program has a zoysia St. Augustine portion of it. I would just follow that model.
Okay.
And then what you can also do too, just to double check yourself, triple check, don't just take it and run with it because you might mess something up. You can take that program and bring it to your local Ewing or Site 1 once you get licensed and be like, hey, a friend of mine in the industry, a little bit more north of us, has a program. This is his program. What do we need to tweak? What do we need to change? Okay. There might be a little adjustments that, you know, they may recommend. There's typically one like site manager for every location at a Site 1 or Ewing. Right. That's the point of contact you want to go to help kind of tweak and build your program for your area.
Okay, gotcha. What do you say is the revenue portion that the fertilizing generates for you guys?
It's a good question, actually. I just looked it up on, I'll tell you right now. I was actually looking at that on the KPI cockpit. So Copilot's really nice because they have a revenue by service. So the portion is, it looks like it's a quarter. A little bit more than a quarter of everything we make.
That's really good. Well, okay. Do you guys offer Christmas light installations?
We don't. Yeah, we just don't. I don't get excited about having my team go up on ladders and
yeah.
I mean, maybe that's me. Maybe I don't like getting up on ladders, even though I jumped out of airplanes. But
right. Yeah, you've got yeah, bad memories, I guess, right?
Yeah. Plus, like, we want to build a business that runs without us, and
right.
So you know, doing Christmas lights, you basically have to retrain your team every year in the fall, which I'm already having to retrain all my team in the spring when we onboard all these new people. So it's like, I don't know, there just comes a point. I kind of like the seasonal aspect of the business where it's kind of slower for 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
We make all of our money June, July, August, September, and October. Like that's where the most profit is, right. Those 5 months. And then we just kind of lay off like the lower performers in the fall, winter. And then like if we want them to come back, we'll give them a sign-on bonus to come back in the spring. Okay. And a lot of them do because they make like 30 plus an hour at our company. It's like there's no other lawn company that they can go and make 30 an hour, you know.
And there's the Copilot that they have P4P on there.
They don't have P4P necessarily like integrated. I think they do have plans down the road. P4P is in a different software.
Okay.
For you right now at 130,000, I'd probably just keep rolling with what you got.
Yeah,
you're probably doing hourly.
Right.
When you start getting to one is probably not like one employee, you will be in the truck with him, so you'll make sure he's efficient. But the minute you get your second truck and you start to get to like 3 employees plus total, like in the field, definitely want to look at implementing P4P. because you don't have to micromanage them anymore. And then at that point, all you're doing is looking for money motivated workers. Right. If you find money motivated workers, they will fit in your system very well, because when you're making money, they're making money.
All right, correct. Okay, alrighty, Will. I think that's all I got for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then last thing that just came to my mind, William, because I thought about this, but when you said that, just being organized. So what we do in our business, in our trucks, we have a black binder that we put right between the center console and the driver's seat. Mm-hmm. It's a zip up thing. And so in that binder, we have all of our team put the receipts. So anytime they go to the fuel or the gas station, or they get blades or trimmer line, whatever, and they use the business card, we require that they get the receipt and then they put that in the binder. You're going to want to make sure that you're tracking those receipts.
Every single item okay.
Yeah. And the other thing too is when you sign up for QuickBooks, not only is it a payroll system where you can pay your team, it's also a income and expense system. So actually, I have a video that's coming out. I don't think it's published yet, but I've got 1 or 2 coming out this week. There's a guy that I recommended to actually sit down and do it literally on an Excel spreadsheet at where he was. That might be beneficial for you to learn the numbers. And what you would do is each month, and now to scale, this is not the right idea, by the way. But in the beginning, when you're only doing 100 to 150,000, this is where you really learn your numbers and you learn the business. And I think it's imperative to learn that foundation before handing it to a bookkeeper and just being like, hey, manage my expenses. So what you would do is you would log into your bank account at the end of each week or each month. And based on what you spent money on, you just categorize it. So like, okay, that was fuel, like 7-Eleven, fuel. Frisco Lawn and Power, that's where we buy our equipment. Okay, that's new equipment, uniforms, trimmer line would just be under supplies. And then you would put payroll in there once you start to pay your team. And so then what you do is you figure out on your CRM, you can run a report how much money you made that month. And let's say you made 20 grand that month, right? Then on your Excel spreadsheet, when you plug in your expenses, you have it subtract all of those numbers from the 20,000. And then at the end of the month, you will know if you made money or not.
Okay.
It's the most basic, fundamental, foundational thing I think would be beneficial for anybody that's listening to this doing under 150K is to do it themselves. And it might be a tall task waiting to the end of the month because there might be a lot of transactions. You can break that down and do it each week. It shouldn't take you more than 30 minutes.
Okay, sweet.
But eventually, William, as you grow and scale, you're not going to want to do it on an Excel spreadsheet. You'll actually do it on QuickBooks. And then what you'll do is you'll link your bank account on QuickBooks. And every single time you use your card, and you might have to link your credit card on there too, it will show transactions. And then you would have either you could do it or a bookkeeper would go in and be like, okay, that one's for fuel, that one's for uniform, that one's for payroll. And then it would do the same thing at the end of the month. You could pull a report of a profit and loss statement and see how much money you made, or if you lost money.
Okay, alrighty.
So that's how to get organized on the admin side. A lot there, but good thing we got it recorded. You can go back and re-listen to this because I know it's a lot of information.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing is just the organization of it. Yeah, definitely gonna have to sit down and just kind of take notes some more and go through this again. But yeah, thanks, Will, man. I really appreciate it. I don't think your videos get enough traction for the amount of value you provide. So I sincerely do appreciate that, and hopefully, we can stay in touch. And if you can send me the information of the guy that did that website, I would really appreciate that as well.
Absolutely.